it Bubba Wallace's responsibility to apologize for an investigation into a noose that he didn't report and he never even saw. It was NASCAR that found this, that reported this, and even the FBI referred to it as a noose, even if they said it wasn't a specific crime against Mr. Wallace. Why is the president even suggesting that Mr. Wallace should apologize?
Well, look, the FBI, as I noted, concluded that this was not a hate crime, and he believes it'd go a long way if Bubba came out and acknowledged that as well. This was not a hate crime as noted by the FBI.
He's been very clear that the FBI found this was not intentional. Why is he directing this at Mr. Wallace?
So one of the things this is where the president comes from, and this is where the president stands. And he actually hinted at this in his July 4th speech. To those in the media who falsely and consistently label their opponents as racist, who condemn patriotic citizens, who offer a clear and truthful defense of American unity, we want a clear and faithful defense of American history and unity. And when you level false charges, you not only slander me, you slander the American people. He believes the American people are good. And the allegations and the rush to judgment with Jesse Smollett in the Bubba Wallace case and with the Covington Catholic boys, we shouldn't be so quick to jump onto those narratives. Those are just three examples of those that have been proven false.
Investigation that someone else initiated, suggesting he was possibly the victim of a hate crime?
Yes.
You were saying that we're taking the tweet out of context, but this is what he tweeted. He says, at Bubba Wallace apologized to all those great NASCAR drivers and officials who came to his aid, stood by his side, and were willing to sacrifice everything for him, only to find out that the whole thing was just another hoax. That and flag decision has caused lowest ratings ever. How are we misinterpreting that?
I've explained to you, this is, I guess, the fourth attempt, but we'll try it again. In aggregate, what he was pointing out is this rush to judgment to immediately say that there is a hate crime, as happened in this case, as happened with Jesse Smollett, as happened with the Covington Catholic boys. And in aggregate, those actions made it seem like NASCAR men and women were racist individuals who were roving around and engaging in a hate crime. The president's intent was to say, no, most American people are good, hardworking people. I mean, we should not have this rush to judgment, knee-jerk reaction before the facts come out. The FBI did their job and determined there was no hate crime. Mario.
Hold on. Just the one thing that wasn't clear in your response, and that's why I asked about it again, and it follows up on Paula's question, is why should Mr. Wallace have to apologize for that when his whole team and all of these colleagues came around him to show support?
Yeah, and that's the best of America, is coming around when the media alleged a hate crime, coming around and supporting Bubba Wallace as they should have done. I think that shows how loving NASCAR fans are and the fellow drivers. But I think it's important that we point out the fact that there was no hate crime. The FBI concluded that, and President Trump was merely saying that Mr. Wallace should agree with that consensus. Yes, Mario.
Apologize. He's saying
Mario,
he has to apologize. That's what we're trying to ask you, Kaylee, is why should he have to apologize about that?
I'm not going to answer a question a sixth time. Mario.
You've been asked it, but you haven't answered.
Mario, go ahead.
Kaylee, on the Confederate part, why would the president not praise NASCAR for removing the Confederate flag, particularly given the history of that flag, the symbol that it has for African Americans, and also what it represents in terms of just the treasonous acts and the insurrection against the Republic?
So
why would he not praise them for taking that down, even if it's a ratings hit?
The president takes great offense when Americans are knee-jerk reaction summed up as racist. And in aggregate, the picture being painted here in this incident seemed to be that there was that suggestion there, when in fact what we're seeing across the nation is this vast cancel culture where we're going to tear down our monuments, we're going to tear down Gandhi, we're going to tear down George Washington, we're going to tear down Lincoln. It's really quite appalling what we've seen happen across the country, and the president wants no part in cancel culture. He wants no part in the tearing down and defacing of Matthias Baldwin, an abolitionist, Philadelphia Civil War soldiers, John Greenleaf Whittier, vandalized, an abolitionist. He wants no part in this. He stands against the demonization of Americans, and he stands firmly on the side of preserving our history. Yes.
The flag is a different issue.
He is not, I said from the very top of this briefing, he has not given an opinion one way or the other on that. I just spoke to him this morning. Yes.
What exactly does the president see as positive or uniting then about the Confederate flag? Why did he decide to tweet about it then this morning?
The president never used those words. Those are the words of a reporter, not that of the president of the United States. Yes.
Thank you, Haley. I wanted to say, first off, point of fact, Bubba Wallace did not make any kind of false report. And I'm wondering, in general, why the president thinks that issue is worth his time and focus right now in the midst of a deadly pandemic. And then also, you've said he has no opinion on the Confederate flag. Why can't this White House unambiguously state whether or not it supports displays of the Confederate flag
No, I said-
and Confederate monuments,
I
which are
said in
much
his-
more a part of this question than Gandhi?
Yeah, I said that his tweet was not to indicate approval or disapproval of that particular policy of NASCAR. It was an aggregate to stand against the rush to judgment, to call something a hate crime before the facts were out, when clearly the media was wrong about this. When clearly,
report. He didn't.
I never said that. Perhaps one of the reporters said that, but I certainly did not. But he believes that we should be, that the truth matters, and that the truth was the FBI did a thorough investigation, and what was concluded that there was no hate crime here, and we should all be grateful for that, grateful that NASCAR fans came together in a great display of American unity around Mr. Wallace, but then we should also be equally unequivocal about the truth of this situation here, and that most Americans are great, hardworking people. Yes.
Cultural stuff worth his time and
Yes.
focus during the pandemic.
Yes, he's focused on two things at once, something we're all capable of doing.
And what about an
Yes.
unambiguous statement on the Confederate flag? Are we capable of doing that?
Look, the president has made clear he was not taking a position one way or the other in that tweet.
Exactly.
Yes.
Well, why not?
Yes.
Thanks, Barry. Two quick questions, if I may. Does the president support the Cleveland Indians and the football team here in Washington considering changing their names?
I haven't spoken to the president on that.
And on the other question, who came up with the list of historical figures that the president wants honored in his in this garden of statues that he put out this executive order about? Who came up with the list of people to be included there?
So I don't know exactly who came up with that list. I can ask about it, but it's a pretty extraordinary list of people. I think we can all agree on the fact that great American heroes are people like Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass and Booker T. Washington and Martin Luther King Jr. These are incredible men and women in our history, Susan B. Anthony and Billy Graham. So I think we can all pretty much widely acknowledge that these are American heroes. Yes.